There we go.
We're going? Alright. So today we're going to start out showing you how to change the oil. First thing you're going to do is you're going to look at what kind of oil your car uses. For a Chevy Cobalt, it's 530. Most cars, it's on the cap. So to change the oil on this particular Ecotec, you got to take the cover off for keeping it cleanage. You always want to take your top cap off, that way you have a little bit of airflow for when you go and drop the bottle. You're going to need a 15mm socket to get the drain plug out. So let's show you that here in a minute. Here are the filters that we're going to be using today. For this car, the STP number is S9018 extended life, since this is high mileage and we're using high mileage synthetic oils. And this is the air filter we're going to use, just a standard SA9969. You're going to also want to have some rags, so oil changes get messy. So I grabbed that 15mm socket and a breaker bar. If you have any questions on where your transmission is at, it's right here, and here's your oil pan on the passenger side. Best time to do an oil change is after you've ran it, but not when it's scalding hot. So give it a couple minutes. On a cold winter day, it works even better. Slowly start wallering her out. You're also going to want to instruct the drain bolt, because it's got a gasket on it that if it starts going, it causes a nasty little oil leak from the bottom of the pan here. There's that gasket I was telling you about. You can usually get them a 5-pack from O'Reilly's for $2-3, at least what they used to cost before COVID. Now this is a full synthetic oil, and you can tell that it's close to its end of service life just from the fact that it is a lot darker because of the hydrocarbons that have been added to it from running. I usually do about 5,000 miles on a synthetic oil change, since it's high mileage and I use high mileage oil, and I use the best filters that I have available to me. So you're going to want to let this puppy drain out, especially once it gets a little drippy and stringy. Go wash up, do something, come back, put your gasket back in if it's bad, and then you're going to put the bolt back in, which I'll show you in just a minute. So once you've gotten to the phase where it's just a slow drip like this, you can leave it for a couple more minutes, but usually there's not enough oil left in the pan or the engine itself to be a nuisance. You're never going to get all the oil out anyway. So, unless you flush it with an extra quart, which that's for rich people. We're going to put this bad boy back in. We're going to crank on her until she just gets snug, because we don't want to strip this aluminum unless you're good with machining or you feel like buying a new oil pan. It ain't worth it. Nothing too much tighter, because we don't want to strip that aluminum. Now we're going to go back up top side. I'm going to tell you how many quarts it takes, show you how to change the oil filter, and we'll get this puppy going. So the oil filter on this is a paper element oil filter. That's pretty much how it is in all these Ecotecs, even in the ones from the newer cars, 2020s. Most of those are going to be 2.4s, not 2.2s. Those are their own mess. So you're going to have this ready. You're either going to need a 1 1/4 inch socket like this, or a 32mm one if you can find one. When I bought this, all the local stores were out of 32mm oil sockets. So that's what you get. And we'll show you the old filter here. Now, it has a little gasket around this filter housing lid that you pop it into. It's very important to change it out every single time and make sure it has a good seal. Otherwise, you're going to be losing all your oil out of here. So in order to change out the gasket before you put the new filter in, you're either going to want to get a blade, a screwdriver, or a pick if you have one. Pop this bad boy off, just because it sits in that groove pretty tight. It's hard to get a fingernail underneath it. Now we got that old ring off. We're set the new filter element in here. Lock her on there. And it's got, these STP things have a really nice little instruction thing, which is really common sense if you think about it. You want to lube your gaskets. You put a dry gasket on, it's going to dry out, oil is going to get passed. So we're going to take a little bit of our new oil, we're going to run her around here, and then we're going to slide her back in. Thing I have always done is I just dip these in kind of like you're going to dip a French fry in ketchup. You just circle it around, be careful not to drop it in there. On an older style gasket, you just take your thumb, or an older style filter, you just take your thumb and run it along the bead. But you'll see that when we do an oil change in one of my older cars here. Slide her onto the filter housing lid here. Notice this one's just a little bit tighter than the other one because it was a little worn out. And pop this bad boy in, like so, and there you go. Now we're gonna pop her back in here. We're gonna start hand threading her. And you're gonna see that gasket start pinching itself here in a minute, and that's what creates the seal once it's threading. I like using these wide mouth funnels. They're just a little easier to just pop down in here and not worry about over spillage. So we're just gonna go nice and easy. They used to have easy pour bottles, but Valvoline decided to cheap out on us after COVID, so that's all right. 20-gallon jugs. Like there's a screwdriver trick, all sorts of stuff. But you're gonna want to go until this basically starts dripping just like the rest of it. Then we'll take our funnel out, wipe everything up, put our cover on and our cap on, and we're gonna go and reset the oil life gauge. So you're gonna put the cover back on. Doesn't have to be perfect as long as it fits over the dipstick. Put your cap on. That's mainly what holds it down. Then you're gonna wanna take a rag. And once you have it on the ground, you're gonna check the dipstick. See how full the pan is. Now, that's also a good opportunity to clean up your dipstick because these GM styles are a little bit hard to tell when they're dirty. But we got all 5 corks in here. Our sticker on down in there. And it is showing at our full mark here. You see minimum, maximum, and it's right up to the maximum. Just where we want it. So change out your air filter on this 2.2. It's over here on the passenger side behind the frame rail and the headlight. You're going to need a screwdriver to loosen this up. Perfect. I just mostly want a little bit of flex here because we're going to be moving it. There's 4. Actually, no. Only 2 on this one. It used to be 4 on mine. Of these clips. Just pop them loose here, and then it hinges over, and you can pull this off all the way if you disconnect the filter. And take your air filter out. This one's starting to show a little bit of dirtiness. I usually do them about once a year. A lot of people forget to do them at all, and then they wonder why their car's starting to give them problems. sometimes they can be a little difficult. It's just about getting the right angles on it. Plus these plastics are about 15-20 years old now, so they don't exactly like flexing the way they used to. But you get this bad boy on there just like that, and your air filter's changed. Thank you, Chevrolet. I know there's ice possible. So we changed the oil earlier. The oil life was at 32%. Now we're going to reset it, and the way you do that is you set the key to accessory and you hold the gas pedal down, and it should reset the oil life back to 100. Some of these you have to pump it a couple times for it to do it. Let's see here. There we go. And that's how you reset the oil life on a Chevy Cobalt. So today we're also going to be doing a transmission service on this car. So you're going to want a 8mm Allen key socket and an extension, just so you can get down to the fill port and the drain port. To get to the drain port, you're going to want to take the driver's side tire off, and it's going to be visible right here just next to the CV axle. So we're going to take our socket and make sure we're on lefty loosey, because again, aluminum. And we're gonna try to get her off. Might need 2 hands for it, but we'll give her a shot. Some guys like coming up here with an Allen key from underneath the car, but I think the less amount of time I have to spend underneath the car on jack stands, the better. So, turns out the solution is just a few more extensions that are longer than the ones I had. So we got her broke loose. We'll go ahead and drain her, and we'll show you how bad this fluid was. See how dark that ATF is? That is a good sign that while it is working, it's not working as good as it could or should even. So we're gonna put some more ATF here in it, because that's what General Motors recommends for this particular rig, and we'll get her back on the road. You're gonna want a long enough funnel to get down into this fill point here. You have to finagle the hoses a little bit, but it's right through that hole if you can see it. I just got to get the good angle on it here without screwing any of my stuff up. Do one whole one, and then just about to 0.2 quarts. And stop right there on the second one, and that's going to be your full capacity. And we're there. So you're just going to get your socket here and your fill plug, and we're going to fill her, or we're going to twist her back in and make sure she's tight. Then we're going to test and see how the tranny fills.